farmers destroying eggs at a poultry farm in Onstwed, Netherlands, on August 3. Patrick Hoosman, Agence France-Presse, Getty Images. Barneveld, the Netherlands. Diligent family farmers like Marion van de Vis have made the Netherlands the global leader in egg exports. But now she, like many others, finds her livelihood threatened since using a local company this year to rid her chickens of pesky lice. That company, the authorities believe, appears to have mixed a controlled poison, fipronil, into its cleaning solution. Since last week, the resulting contamination has been found in exports of eggs and egg products to 16 European countries and China. Our beautiful family farm is hanging by a silk thread, said Ms. van de Vis, who will now have to destroy 100,000 eggs that cannot be sold. The scandal is now one of the biggest food scares in Europe since 2013, when horse meat was discovered being passed off as beef. As much as 20% of Dutch egg-laying chickens may be affected, according to the authorities, costing farmers millions and damaging the reputation of the roughly €700 million Dutch egg sector. Experts and authorities say that the doses of fipronil found in a majority of the tainted eggs are not enough to harm consumers with normal, short-term consumption. But the European Commission has had to calm both consumer anxiety and finger-pointing over who is to blame. Blaming and shaming will bring us nowhere, and I want to stop this fight. Denis Andriukaitis, the European Union Commissioner for Health and Food Safety, said in a statement this week. As politicians this week in Brussels and The Hague were accusing one another of sounding the alarm too late, their national police forces, in a joint mission, raided businesses suspected of bringing fipronil into the food chain in Belgium and the Netherlands. Some eggs from German and Belgian farms have also been found to be contaminated. The Dutch police arrested two men who ran the delousing company, Chickfriend, which the authorities believe is responsible for contaminating up to 180 farms in the Netherlands. Neither the company nor the men, whose names have not been confirmed by the authorities, have made any statement since the arrests, and Dutch and Belgian authorities took pains to warn that the investigation was ongoing. But Dutch food safety authorities acknowledged that they used the company's client list to determine which eggs to test and what farms to exclude from the market. We focused on the eggs. We blocked all the companies that were in database of that company, said Jeet Massenbroek, a press officer for the Netherlands Food and Consumer Product Safety Authority, better known by its Dutch acronym NVWA. A poultry farm in Wordle, Belgium. The more densely chickens are packed, the more likely the incidence of blood lice. Francois Reuters. Unlike the sector in the United States, where large conglomerates hold millions of laying chickens, the average farmer in the Netherlands has 40,000 to 50,000 laying chickens. The usual farm might employ a farmhand or two, but most of the work is done by a family. In this way, roughly 900 farms produce 10 billion eggs a year, roughly two-thirds of which are exported. It's very typical for the Dutch sector, said Peter van Hoorn, a poultry economist at Wageningen University, who pointed out that other European countries are slowly converting to big farms. We don't have any farms with more than 1 million layers, he said. But critics say that the sector relies too much on self-regulation since austerity measures affected the Food Safety Authority a decade ago. There have been huge cuts, said Esther Ruhand, a member of Dutch Parliament with the Party for the Animals, which advocates for the interests of animals. The sector itself said it could self-regulate, but we see now that it was a mistake. Bert Middendorp, whose farm has been in his family for nearly 10 generations, says he is just lucky that his chicken did not have blood lice. The fact that his chickens were kept on the ground, not in aviaries, helped, he said. The more densely chickens are packed, the more likely an incidence of lice, which is hard to get rid of once it takes hold. The usual cleaning products are effective in the long term only when used repeatedly, farmers say. One of the reasons Chickfriend became so popular was that farmers found that their treatment was more effective. Authorities now believe that was due to fipronil. If something sounds too good to be true, it usually is, said Henny de Haan, head of the Dutch Poultry Growers Association. And when a product sounds too good to be true, there must be something wrong with it. Ms. van de Vis, whose family farm has around 73,000 chickens, said she had hired the company in January. Usually we do the cleaning ourselves, she said. They looked good. We thought it was a professional company. She, like other farmers, expressed frustration that the Dutch Health Authority did not step in sooner. If we had known, we would have never had this problem, she said. Eggs displayed at a supermarket in Lille, France. Philippe Hugon, Agence France-Presse, Getty Images. In a letter presented to the Dutch Parliament on Thursday, Dutch health authorities admitted that they had received a tip about fipronil being used in barns against blood lice as early as November 2016. At that time, there were no indications for acute food safety risks, Rob van Lint, Inspector General of the NVWA, said in a statement. There was no indication that fipronil could also be in eggs and chicken as far back as November 2016. Fipronil is a neurotoxin that also attacks kidneys and the liver. The toxin stores in fat tissue and accumulates in the body, and so is deemed unsafe for long-term consumption, said Dr. Martin van den Berg, a toxicology professor at Utrecht University. But over the short term, consumers should be absolutely safe, he said. The bottom line, if you have accidentally consumed a couple of eggs a week over a couple of months or so, there is no reason to be concerned, he said. It's really politics and economic, but as a toxicologist, I'm not impressed with the acute toxicity. Still, when Belgian authorities alerted their Dutch counterpart about fipronil, the eggs were recalled. Supermarkets pulled the offending eggs from the shelves. Because Dutch eggs are stamped at the farm with serial numbers, the recalls were relatively easy. The real problem, say farmers and other experts, is the damage to the reputation of Dutch eggs abroad, where roughly 2/3 of its eggs go. Since Germany imports up to half the eggs provided by Dutch farmers, its response has been watched closely. German supermarkets went further than the recommended recall, and some major chains removed all eggs from their shelves. The Germans are very anxious consumers, and they are also chauvinistic, Ms. de Haan said. They would prefer to eat German eggs. Dr. Van Hoorn, the poultry economist, agreed the response of the Germans is the biggest problems, the image of the Dutch egg in Germany. That's what everyone is worried about. For now, farmers and authorities say, it will probably not be necessary to destroy the chickens, as well as the eggs, at least. Not on a large scale. The chickens, they say, can be detoxified and their eggs will be tested before they can get back on the market. Everyone is busy saving their own farm and looking out for their colleagues, Ms. Van Divis said. We aren't so concerned about finding who to blame. Follow Christopher F. Schutz on Twitter at CF Schutz.